Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and our continuing series on the Steam Deck, and today what we're going to be showing you guys how to do is to get PPSSPP, or the PlayStation Portable Emulator, up and running and go through all of the different settings to get you a great experience. And boy, that was just a mouthful with all those initials to say. But the Steam Deck really is just a gigantic PlayStation Portable. Of course, it's its own ecosystem and hardware, but at its base it has all the same controls, the same style of resolution for the screen that we would want for PlayStation Portable. For it to get involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Death is a member, maybe you could be too, or you don't have to be, honestly, it doesn't bother me that much. Just as a heads up at the start, PPSSPP does not require a ROM or BIOS for the PlayStation Portable, so that is a step that is missing here. Some emulators just don't need them. PlayStation Portable is one of them. And you will see all the files that I'm adding over to my Steam Deck are all in ISO or ISO format. That is a disk image. That's what I'm using here. PPSSPP has more than one format it supports, but I am using the ISO files because I find them to have a perfect result. So just go ahead and copy whatever games you want over to an exFAT formatted USB drive. Use a dock. I'll leave a link in the description below to the one I use. That way we can just mount and open that image when we get over to desktop mode, and I do this in desktop mode. I find it to be the easiest way to do it. You'll see that I have all of those images that I want to showcase and talk about how they're running on PPSSPP. So all we do is copy them over to a particular folder. I will say I need to set up a keyboard and mouse for my Steam Deck using the trackpads. It's not the worst setup in the world, but it can be a little finicky. But we go over to wherever we have EmuDeck installed, we're going to go into the emulation folder, and then we're going to go over to ROMs. This is where you're going to put any single game that you want for any single emulator on your Steam Deck. We'll just scroll down until we get to the P's. It's all alphabetized and very well set up, and we're going to see popping up here ever so slightly shortly a PSP folder. That is where we're going to copy all of the files over that we need. Now just keep in mind these files are quite large, so it might take you now 6, 8, 12 minutes to transfer everything, depending on how many files you're sending over. But once that is done, you'll get the copying finished notice, and we can go ahead and close out of the folder view completely. And now we'll talk about getting the images up in your collection so that you have quick launch shortcuts for your PlayStation Portable games. You want to get back into EmuDeck, and once it checks for update, sometimes it'll find it, sometimes it won't, so it takes, between 2 to 10 seconds. You're going to see tools and stuff at the bottom right hand corner, and we're going to use the Steam ROM Manager to go ahead and parse out what we just added so it appears in our library on more of the handheld SteamOS look. If we go up to the top left hand corner to preview, that is where we're going to see what we have added in. All of the parsers are usually on by default, and I just leave that as is. So go ahead and click preview and generate app list. That's going to look through all the folders and find everything that you currently have installed and anything that you have recently added, and all new additions are going to be at the bottom of the screen. So if you scroll down, you will see that all of those PlayStation Portable games have been found, and you can change the artwork if you want by toggling over. Some games have 1, some games have 5. But once we know everything is there, we'll just click Save App List, and that will take maybe 5 to 10 seconds, sometimes more depending on how much you're adding at once. But you'll get a done adding removing entries, and then from there you can just close out of the EmuDeck tools and stuff menu and return right back to gaming mode so we can get ahead and start playing these games. So now that we're back into more of the SteamOS handheld looking mode outside of desktop mode, if we go back one in our collections, we're going to see all the different platforms we've added games for via the Steam ROM Manager, and we're going to see PSP standalone. This is a standalone emulator. It is not using RetroArch in any shape or form, but you go ahead and pick whatever game you want, and suddenly it is running on your screen, and it looks better than actual PlayStation Portable hardware because we have the ability to up the internal rendering resolution. We'll talk about that in a few moments. But moving over to the menu system here in just a second, you hold down Steam plus left. That'll access the menu, and go ahead and take a good look right now at what those graphics look like, because if we go over into graphics and we scroll down, you're going to see rendering resolution. Right now it's set at 4x, and if we go to 1x, it's going to be native resolution that the PlayStation Portable would have rendered internally on the original hardware, and you can see that it gets a lot softer and a lot more pixelated. That's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's a stylistic choice. Some games you can go all the way up to 8x, if not more. You're going to be playing with this toggle a lot because games will run perfectly at 4x in some instances. Some games want to be at 2x. Everything is slightly different, so just remember that option is always there for you, and you get to decide what internal rendering resolution you want per game because it is something that you want to articulate now and again. But going through the settings in their entirety, there are a lot. Backend, this is what's being used for rendering. You always want it to be Vulkan, and it'll automatically select the GPU cores for your Steam Deck. As far as the rendering is concerned, 99% of the settings that PPSSPP has by default are going to be the ones you want to keep. It's mostly down to playing with that internal rendering resolution and a few other settings that I have found to be quite useful. There's some on the audio side that I'll get to a little bit later in the video. But rendering resolution is going to be your friend. You get to play around with it however you want, and there's a lot of other graphical options like upscaling types. I think things should just be left out of the box outside of the rendering resolution, but you can play around and see everything this can do, because the nice thing about emulating something like the PlayStation Portable is it's not original hardware. You get to decide how you want to use it. Sometimes you'll see some warnings that the effect you put on may be a little bit heavy test for the CPU. But moving over to God of War Chains of Olympus, a game that can be notoriously difficult to emulate outside of the PlayStation Portable, at 4x I did notice some hitching now and again. That is not surprising. This game is a pain to try to run on non-target hardware. So all you really need to do is just go into the settings menu and change that internal resolution rendering until you get a look you like and a performance you like. You'll see I'm going to come down here, and I put this one on 2x, and all of those little hitches that I saw are completely gone, and it still looks like an extremely good image. Now of course on my PC with an i9 12900K and a 3090 Ti, it doesn't matter to me. I can go like 16x and it's fine, but obviously the Steam Deck is not that, and I think 2x still looks incredible. You get the fluid combat of God of War. There's not really any hitching going on in frames whatsoever. It's just playing exactly like you would expect, and that's what we want to be doing on the Steam Deck, is getting a great performance. So let's move over to another relatively demanding game, and that is Gran Turismo, and I will say at 4x internal rendering resolution, this game is running perfectly as far as I remember. Now it's been some years since I played Gran Turismo on the PlayStation Portable, but this just feels right. But the nice thing is there are tools internally in the menu of PPSSPP that we can access to check to see just exactly how things are running, because sometimes we think they're correct, but they might not be. So if you go back over into that menu, you're going to see that we can get a frames per second counter. I'm just putting FPS on, but if you select that and back out, you will get your frame counter in the top right hand corner, and you will see at 4x internal rendering resolution, Gran Turismo is a locked 60 frames a second. That is perfect performance, and it looks better than a PlayStation Portable because we have that better internal rendering. So like I said, you're going to want to play around with that internal rendering, and you're going to want to keep the frame timer up if you feel like anything's hitching, and you just dial back on that internal rendering until you get the locked frame rate you desire, and you're good to go. But moving over to something like Tekken, again, it's fluid and it's running great at that 4x mode. It's just so much fun to play, and it looks absolutely amazing on the Steam Deck, both in docked mode as well as handheld. And I love the PlayStation Portable. I own one, and I own all the games I'm showcasing here because I am familiar with them. And having a larger, more vibrant screen with a better form factor to hold on to basically makes this the almost preferred way to play portable PlayStation PSP games. And again, another mouthful, lots of portables and PlayStations here. And just so you know, if you go into the menu, you can just exit to the internal menu on PPSSPP. You don't need to quit the game via the Steam button. We can launch new games internally right here. It's just one little shortcut. I've seen people say that they don't like having to quit out each time, and in fact you don't. But something like Loco Roco in 4x mode looks beautiful, and I will say that the sound emulation on this emulator is spectacular as well. So go ahead and listen to the soundtrack for this game for 30 seconds, and I'll come back and talk about some more options that you're going to need to want to know about. But enjoy! Sounds exactly like I'd expect it to. Know if you've never played Loco Roco, you owe it to yourself to do so because it's an absolute banger of a game. But you will see here that it's going to talk about saving to the memory stick, and by default PPSSPP will set up all of the memory systems for you. And the nice thing is, because we're not on optical disc, installing some things are going to be much quicker than they would be on the UMD disk format. But if you do want to go and play around with your saves and deal with anything like that, if we go over to Tools, I skip by it with one, and go to Save Data Manager, it's going to show you all of your saved data as well as save states, because this emulator does support save states, and you have access to both of those within this internal menu. And right when you go to the main menu of this, you're going to be able to save states as well into 4 slots. The only other thing you want to do is enable Use New Audio Devices automatically. I have seen that if you put your Steam Deck to sleep and wake it back up and this is not checked, sometimes you'll lose audio completely. Now do remember that the PlayStation Portable was handheld hardware, and some games were very optimistic about what it could support. You'll see the frame counter in the top hand corner there said 20 frames per second, and it doesn't matter what internal rendering resolution we use, it's going to stay at 20 frames a second. That's because the game is internally locking it there. There are 60 FPS hacks for Peace Walker. They do some weird things, but just remember, Google the frame rate that was supposed to be, because sometimes you might think there's a problem and there's not. And I know everyone, if I didn't showcase Grand Theft Auto, they were going to ask me if it's running at 4x rendering mode. It feels exactly like it should, and it looks better than it ever has, and it's portable. Of course, you could emulate PSP on your desktop systems for the longest time, but you just can't kind of walk out of the house with a desktop computer under your arm and play Grand Theft Auto or dump the bike. That car hit me. And there's so many amazing things to play on the PlayStation Portable, like Power Stone Collection. Power Stone 1 and 2 originated on Dreamcast and came over to PSP, and it's an absolute blast to play. Now there are more deeper settings in here, and if you want a part 2 about more granular settings, leave me a comment down below. These tutorials are meant to get you up and running, show you the most important things, and most importantly to start having fun. Because the Steam Deck is an absolutely incredible device. I've 100% fallen in love with it for portable gaming, both what it's intended for, games on Steam, as well as emulation. I always use this No Man's Sky bump because I just love that Starfield. But the Steam Deck is an incredible PlayStation Portable. The form factor is great, the screen is the same size except bigger, I'm talking aspect ratio, and it plays all the games so well. So go ahead and start playing PSP. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.